late shifts to cover the extra hours, but somehow, there was still magic even if tree leaned a little too far to the left, and the lights didn't match wheelways made it feel special. I tried Tokari, that same spirit, one my parents used every summer, paid off in full by me under the false promise that it would be a shared family investment. Turns out my name was still in the paperwork, so I made a decision that Sunday morning. I booked a flight back home, not to reconcile, not to be guilt, but to collect receipts. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I landed around noon, picked up a rental, and drove straight to the house, the same house I helped renovate when Dad threatened to sell it unless someone paid to fix the water damage. It looked the same, familiar and fake, like a movie set built to look like home. As I pulled up the driveway, I saw Adam's old pickup parked outside. I figured he moved back in after the reploy didn't knock. I walked in with the spare key my mom forgot. I had the moment. I stepped into the living room. I heard voices. He's being dreamy. Name is Eric. I'm 29. And until last year, I thought I understood what family meant, not the Hallmark card version, but the kind you build your life around, even if it means carrying more than your share of the weight. I've always been the quiet one, the responsible son, the one who sends flowers on birthdays and picks up the slack when nobody else even notices there is slack, but I didn't grow up thinking I'd be the backbone of a family that constantly made me feel like I was disposable. That part happened slowly, almost quietly, like right under the floorboards you don't see until it caves in. Growing up, I was the middle child. My older brother Adam was the golden boy, varsity football, charming, always with a crowd around him. My younger sister Mia was the princess from the moment she was born, and me, I was Theon, who got B+ grades and was told I wasn't living up to my potential. I didn't mind. Really, I kept my head down, got a scholarship, moved out, and eventually started my own small IT firm that by some miracle took off after 3 grueling years of ramen 16-hour days and getting ghosted by every investor I pitched to. The funny thing is, when I was struggling, they were silent, but when the money came in, that's when I became family again. It started small. My dad asked if I could help cover the remainder of Adam's car payments just until he gets promoted. Then came Mia's private college. Promise Okios, I didn't tell anyone, not my brother who'd say I worked too hard, not me best friend who'd arrived with Pinot Noir and a vendetta, not my ex who once called me married to my code. I needed silent space to think. Friday night, a walk through Pike Place Market, past shuttered stalls and dim street lights, the Puget Sound's chill numbing, the sting of betrayal. I wasn't mourning my job at Nixora. I was mourning the insult, arrogance of a man who'd never written a line of code, dismissing 7 years off me. Sweat as redundant. By Saturday morning, my mind was clear, sharp as the Seattle skyline against a rare blue sky. Pulled my employment contract from a locked drawer in my apartment, its page sworn but precise. There it was in black and white, the patent for Nexra's back-end system registered under my name, Penelope Harper, US 9347901B. A licensing agreement allowed Nexra to use it, but only with my explicit consent for renewals, updates, or scaling. That agreement expired at midnight Sunday. A detail Max hadn't bothered to check. I let out a small laugh, not from amusement, but from the sheer poetry of it. The system running 82% of Nexra's operations, scheduling, CRM, APIs, client portals, was mine, and they just fired the key holder. I spent the afternoon drafting an email, every word measured, no trace of the adrenaline pulsing through me. From my personal Gmail, I wrote to Nexra's legal department, subject my notice of intellectual property usage expiration, immediate attention required. He outlined the facts, the patent, the licensing terms, and the expiration at midnight Sunday. Without renegotiation directly with me, continued use would breach IP law, triggering legal consequences. I kept it professional, no drama. Signing it, Penelope Harper, inventor, Nexra, backend architecture, V23 patent, US 9347901B. CEC, the general counsel, the old CTO. And yes, Max. Then I hit send, closed my laptop, and felt the weight shift. This wasn't revenge, it was leverage. I needed to move to burn off the tension coiling in my chest. I laced up my running shoes and hit the streets. They clapped when she got the scholarship, and then never contributed another dime. When that scholarship only covered half, guess who made up the rest? But suddenly, I was at distraction and embarrassment, a source of tension, as Chloe put it in a group text last week when I dared to ask her to maybe call once a month to say thanks. I let out a breath. My hand was already moving, fingers flying across the keyboard. Log in bank dashboard. Cancel the tuition autopay. Done. Oh, I said casually, if that's how you feel, then you'll never see my money again. My mom narrowed her eyes, like she didn't believe me. I mean it. I added credit cards, tuition, grocery allowance. It's all done. You're adults, right? Time to act like it. And then, without waiting for their reaction, I clicked leave meeting. Me phone lit up 5 seconds later with a message from my dad. Don't do anything stupid. She's your sister. Followed by Chloe's thanks for making everything about you again. I silenced my phone, stood up, and poured my cold coffee down the drain. My hand didn't shake, not anymore. She walked the stage, the June cap gown, proud smile, photos everywhere. Wasn't there. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I wish I could say that Zoom call was the beginning of the betrayal, but it wasn't. It had been building for years, quietly, relentlessly. It started the moment I got my first real job out of college. I was 24, freshly hired by a fintech startup, and still too naive to realize how quickly family would smell blood in the water. My mom called me a week after I got the offer. So proud of you, honey. Also, your sister's tuition bill came in just until we figure things out. Can you help cover it? I should have said no, but I said yes. Of course, I said yes. That just until we figure things out turned into 4 years soft monthly tuition, housing, meal plans, textbooks, and emergencies that were somehow always about things like concert tickets, Apple Watches, or a spontaneous weekend in Miami for mental health. Ms. Sister Chloe never said thank you, not once. My parents did at first, and then they started treating it like it was midgety. You make more than us, my dad would remind me. You don't even have kids, my mom added one night over wine. And besides, she's the smart one. She's going places. You should be proud, right? Proud of the sister who once told me he was a boring loser with no presence just because I'd sat to every event. I'd been excluded from every time. I'd swallowed that little voice in me head whispering that something wasn't right. I remembered the first time Emily borrowed money from me. She was 20 and late on rent. I didn't even blink. Or the time our dad needed a new water heater and I paid for it because the check from his seasonal job hadn't come in yet. It hot about all the birthdays I spent alone because they were busy or traveling or just forgot. And I remembered the voicemail from my aunt last year, the one where she said, "You really hold this family together, you know. That funny, I wasn't even good enough for the background of a photo." Now I replied to the text, "Copy that." That's all I said. No argument, no guilt, no begging for inclusion, just quiet agreement. And then I went on my laptop. The first thing I did was call the venue. The reservation was in my name. I've been the one to sign the contract and make the deposit. I asked them what would happen if I canceled. They were polite, a bit confused. You're well within the window. They said there'd be a partial refund, but the date would be released immediately. I canceled it. Next, the caterer, same situation. They had my card on file, my signature. I asked for the cancellation terms. I got a partial refund there. 2 photographer gone, stone florist. They were actually relieved. Apparently Emily had been tweaking the arrangements every other day, and they were starting to lose patience. By the time I was finished, everything they thought was locked in had vanished, but I didn't tell them. I didn't say a word. I just let the silence stretch. A few days passed, then a week. The wedding was set for Saturday. I knew they'd find out eventually, just not for me. I figured they'd either be too distracted, Tonitas, or too arrogant to imagine that I'd actually walk away. That's the thing about being the reliable one. People assume you'll keep showing up, no matter how many times they shut the door in your face. The silence was almost peaceful until the day of the wedding. That morning, I went for a walk, left my phone